You're live.
Okay,
Yay.
great. We're live. 2 minutes early.
That's all
Um,
good.
you know, it's gonna be good, but
Always.
yeah. Welcome to the live, everyone. So this is a chance for people to ask questions. We're in Jenessa's um, secret lair.
Yeah, we can say it's that.
So for those of you who don't know Jenessa just yet, she's one of my closest friends. Ta-da! And you open the box. She has been with me. We met each other in grade 9, and we just, there were times where we drifted and came together, and drifted and came together. But here we are. How many years later? 18
Yeah.
years
Isn't
later.
that crazy? Yeah.
We're still together, and so she's the founder and owner of Jingo Enterprise, and that's a company that not only makes cosmetic products, but makes sure that she's giving back to the community. She launched this business with the hope of providing future employment for people who have disabilities, which is something that she's really passionate about. So she's been managing our secret private Facebook group for the students who are on in my course. And each and every student out there who is a part of my course is going to receive Jingle products. And next week, yeah, I know.
Surprise! TJ's Oprah now.
I know. Just look under your seat, everyone. So next week, if you guys want us to do a live of candle making, we'll try to make it as ASMR as possible for the viewers out there who loves ASMR, and we can answer questions while making candles. We made a video about what do you call it? The bath bombs?
Yeah, making bath bombs. It was our first try.
So if anyone interested in that video, let me know and we'll post it. We'll also try to make it ASMR as much as possible. So I guess here we are, and people can throw questions, but I wanted to have a discussion today about fear. This morning I sent Jenessa this little video on courage.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, I used to watch that as a kid. It was like, for me, I was like, oh, it's funny. It's like, it's kind of morbid, but it's also kind of funny. But now that as an adult, you look back at it and you're like, wow, there's a lot more meaning than as a kid you didn't understand. But as an adult, you're just like, oh goodness. Now I realize it really was more because it really reflected reality.
Yeah, it was really, so we're talking about, the videos that I'm getting. Okay, there we go. We're talking about Courage the Dog from Cartoon Network. So some of you may not be old enough for that, but
are we aging ourselves? What?
Yeah, Courage the Dog. I remember watching Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes.
Powerpuff Girls. Hey Arnold.
Yes, Hey Arnold. Yeah.
And they actually, so this YouTube channel by the name of Wisecrack, not really affiliated with them, but I think they do create some pretty cool videos, and they did a feature on Courage the Dog as to what it really means.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I was never like a Courage fan, probably because it was freaky.
Yes, it did have that freaky undertone. And the thing is, as a kid, and he mentions it in the video too, like you don't understand why it's so scary, but then you realize, oh, it's really connecting to like real life kind of possibilities and realities, right?
Yeah, especially when it comes to do with trauma.
Yes.
And childhood trauma. So I don't know if you want to explain to them what.
So he's kind of like a pink dog. Yeah, if you're looking at it face value, it's like he's always scared about everything, right? So he lives in the middle of nowhere. They literally call it that, like nowhere. And then he has there's Muriel, who is it's a wife and husband, Muriel, and what's his name again? The husband? Oh man, he starts with an E. Eugene. Yeah. So they both live on this farm, and a lot of paranormal activity happens. And sometimes it's not paranormal. Sometimes it's just regular things, and it's just in the dark. It looks like it's one thing, but in reality, it's another. So Kurt the Cowardly Dog is going through all these situations, basically on his own. But sometimes when he tries to express it to his owners, it's like either they don't understand, or like Eugene doesn't really care. He's like, oh, you stupid dog. And then Muriel will try her best to be understanding. And I like that it was mentioned in that video.
Mm.
Um, she tries to be understanding, but she still doesn't understand why he's like freaking out. She just tries to comfort him, right? But at the end of the day, like no matter what, like Courage the Cowardly Dog is always doing his best. And
Mm.
sometimes it's like he faces all sorts of enemies and people that want to hurt him and
And they were
harm him.
freaky. They
Yes,
were they
yes.
were really scary.
Yeah,
Like
they
the
were.
villains are, they're quite, you know.
Yeah, they are. Especially the one in particular, I forgot his name. I forgot his name. He has like blonde hair and he always has this creepy
Oh,
grin.
the one that kind of represents, that freaky family friend.
Yeah, like a predator, right?
Exactly.
So
But
it,
then
yeah,
you're not, you feel it, but then your parents won't believe you because.
yeah, yeah. Like you have that vibe. Like I don't know, that person's really weird. Like I
Mhm.
don't think you should talk to them. And so that might be a case for parents like, oh, you're overthinking. But it's like when their eyes is not turned, right? They are the
Right.
ultimate. And then that particular character, right, really tormented Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Poor thing.
And then even when he tried to explain it, it's like Muriel didn't understand. Eugene, of course, just as Eugene just says, ah, stupid dog, as
Right.
always. So it's like as a kid, you think it's comical, like, oh, you stupid dog, and then he puts on a mask and scares Courage. And for some kids, like a lot of people said they were a lot like really like scarred by certain episodes,
Mm.
but they didn't understand. And when you look back at it, you realize because it's like there's a lot of undertones with predators, with discrimination, with hatred, with making assumptions, like things that you think are dangerous but they're not, and things that are dangerous like at face
Mm.
value, but only you see it and nobody else sees it, and you're kind of like frustrated by that, right? And that's one thing Kurt the Cowardly Dog always did. Like one thing he always liked to say is like, oh, I'm doing this for my family, like all the things I do for love, right? Like no matter
Mm.
what, he still episode where he has like the slab, and it's like a part of this person, and they were like, if you don't give me the slab, I'm going to curse you. And Eugene was so stubborn. He's like, nope. Eugene didn't even need the slab. Like he just took it for the sake of taking
Mm.
it, right? And instead of just giving it back, he was just like, no, screw you. And there were so many consequences to that, right? But basically, Courage the Cowardly Dog is like he's exactly what he is. It's like his name is Courage,
Mm.
and he's a cowardly dog. But if you think about it, he's actually really courageous because he's always facing that fear, no matter the predator or the villain. And it also shows like sometimes how the villain is not always as terrible as they seem to be, or sometimes they are terrible, but it gives like a story or reason as to why. Of course, like
Right.
it's not to empathize so much with that character, especially if they're doing wrong, but it's
Mm.
like an understanding on why people go that route. And even like the creator confirmed that, like, yeah, that's basically it. And it reminds me of a lot of modern, like current day, like horror games. Like it's not so much about like blood and gore, which it is, but there's also that psychological horror where it's like those like small undertones that show like reality can be a lot more gruesome, right? So I think that's really interesting. And then usually what happens is like in like I'm just saying as a typical with the horror games, like usually the main character, if they can overcome their fear or
Mm.
whatever's going around them, if they get that support, then they can overcome. But if they don't, they succumb to like whatever their own how should I say, their own battles, right? Like maybe they'll stay in bed forever, or I'm just thinking of a couple of games on the top of my head. I wish I could remember them. But
Yeah.
like it's basically the same thing, right? Kurt's a Carly dog. No matter what, he always went forth because he wanted to save his family or he wanted to protect them, right?
Right. So that's kind of like, so in the course we covered already fear, and then we're gonna explore more of this weekend, um, because we're now moving into the organ system in Taoism Qigong. So fear is stored in the kidneys, and that's where trauma is often stored. And so we're gonna be doing some exercises. Maybe I could do some over here, um, on how, modern day techniques like what is called eye desensitization movement and patterns, EMDR, actually originated from. These practices have been, done for as long as we could ever remember these eye movements. Maybe I can some of that, but I do like want to tie it back to courage. You need courage, need fear first
Mhm.
of all in order to have courage, because if you are never afraid, then there's
Mhm.
not an opportunity to be courageous.
Mhm.
For people who are afraid, because because of the fear, it presents an opportunity for you to face whatever that is. So,
Mhm.
for anyone out there who's watching, look at some of the things that you're most afraid of. Like, this is one of the questions that I ask everyone is that, what are the things that you're most afraid of? And ask yourself, like, where does that fear originate from? And oftentimes, like in the show Courage the Dog, like
Mhm.
courage kind of, I think that video was saying that courage represents our inner childhood, because of Muriel and Eugene, they're kind of like the parents,
Mhm.
one doesn't really care, and then the other one like tries to, but is unable to really fully understand the perspective that courage is coming from.
Mhm.
Especially with that, the one of the villains, as you said, that was kind of terrorizing courage. He was like nice with the parents.
Yeah, very nice. And it's so for them, they just think, oh, he's so nice. He's always smiling, but it's a very, I would like to say, like a corrupted smile, right?
I see.
It's like
And
a corrupted smile.
I actually had a client of mine who had a really, really terrible experience with something like this. So there's parents, and then they grew up on an island in Spain. So the island, is small. Like, there's not really much places that you can run away from. But ever since he was a kid, there was a this family friend who was
Mhm.
a teacher,
Mhm.
and the family friend would come over, and very nice
Yeah.
with the parents smiling, but once the parents are gone, um takes out a knife,
Mhm. Wow.
and
Oh my
yeah,
god.
and chases him around this island, this little town.
Oh gosh. Oh my
So
goodness.
that really
Jeez.
effed him up, like that really screwed him up, because his parents wouldn't believe him.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what you're talking about, but it's like no, this person is, and that's exactly like
Yeah.
that episode of Encourage the Cowardly Dog shows. Like he comes in, he has a suit, he looks nice,
Hmm.
everything's done, I guess according in that standard of the universe,
Hmm.
and always has a smile. But Courage was always like, "There's something wrong. There's something off." And as soon as the parents turn, or
Hmm.
not the parents, like the spouses turn around, it's like that's when he turns his become very villainous. That's the word.
Right.
Sorry, to go out to come out. And so, like with the situation with your client, right? It's like they could say like, "This is what happened," and they're like, "No, but that's impossible. They're so nice. They're a teacher." And